Discovered. A millionaire's incredible reunion with his long-lost love and her child transforms a soul in turmoil. Jake Thompson stood in the Grand Conference Hall, surrounded by the shimmering elite of Chicago's architectural world. On the surface, he embodied the American dream: wealth, respect, and prestige, but beneath that polished veneer, a gnawing guilt clawed at him. The applause felt hollow as it echoed in his ears, resonating with memories of a childhood spent dodging the weight of poverty. Ever since he made it big, his past had felt like a distant planet. But the inkling of returning to his roots had begun to surface, relentless and nagging. The photograph settled in his palm, the faded image of Lily's radiant smile igniting buried desires and a thirst for connection. Why had he let her slip away? Why hadn't he searched harder when she vanished from his life like smoke? As he navigated his way through the gleaming hall, the cacophony of laughter and intellectual banter bore down on him. Jake felt clouds looming over him, shadows of self-doubt and regret. He excused himself from conversations about designing skyscrapers and sustainable homes, cloaking himself in the anonymity of the past. The stark disparity between his life and those of the people he left behind gnawed at him. Was his success built on the skeletons of others? His thoughts spiraled, battling the ideal he had crafted versus the undeniable truth of those who still fought every day to survive. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jake's resolve hardened as he scrambled for the right words to convince himself that returning to find Lily was noble, not just selfish. Her disappearance haunted him, and the need for closure burned intensely. Each passing moment in the architect's realm felt like a reminder of dreams unrealized. What if she had still been waiting for him? What if she had landed in the very cycles of despair he'd worked so hard to escape? When he finally found the courage to venture back toward their roots, it felt like stepping off the ledge of a skyscraper into a free fall. The familiar streets smelled of nostalgia, the same cracked sidewalks where they shared dreams as teenagers. Children played just as they had, while the dark clouds of economic struggle lingered. Could he bridge the ever-widening gap that success had cemented between them? What if he reached out, only to be met with bitterness and rejection? Maybe her life bore scars he couldn't heal. Maybe he was no more than an intruder, an embarrassment to the woman he once loved. Then he saw her, Lily, strong but weary, her smile still radiant yet haunted. The tumult of emotions tore at him, a visceral churning, until standing still became futile. What did love mean when it was tangled within the chains of dependency and pride? As he pictured Ethan, her son, the indifference of the upscale life he had cultivated twisted within him, getting tighter, more constrictive. Standing at this crossroads where their lives converged and diverged simultaneously, dread rooted itself deeply in his chest. Could he be the very thing she resented? Would reopening this chapter of their lives expose wounds too deep to heal, making her feel even lower than before? Jake's thoughts danced precariously between longing for connection and the paralyzing fear of losing everything he had built, a life that now felt like a gilded prison. He was losing time and clarity, each moment slipping further away, pressing upon his heart the weight of possibilities left unresolved, and he feared he might just lose her again. Jake took a deep breath, trying to gather his racing thoughts. The air felt heavy, pressing against his chest, as he wrestled with the prospect of confronting the ghosts of his past. Each hesitant step toward Lily felt like traversing a tightrope, his balance precarious. He wanted to reach her, to close the distance that had widened over the years, yet dread of the unknown seeped into his resolve. His heart pounded, echoing against the backdrop of laughter and success he had carefully crafted into his life. "Do I even belong here anymore?" he muttered to himself, glancing at his dress shoes that now felt out of place on this cracked pavement. They were reminders of a life he had uncomfortably built, one that felt alien and yet alluring. He had sacrificed so much to be accepted, but now he questioned the very foundation of that acceptance. Was it worth the distance it had created between him and those lost in the shadows of his past? As he approached Lily, the memories blurred between idealization and reality. Her hair glimmered under the sunlight, reminiscent of carefree afternoons spent under oaks, whispering dreams that felt boundless. Yet now a hollow ache gnawed within him. What if the warmth of her smile had been replaced by the chill of hardship? Lily, he spoke softly, as if uttering her name too forcefully might shatter the moment. She turned and the world around him faded, leaving only her eyes those deep wells of resilience flickering with recognition. Jake? The tone of her voice was tentative, grounding while brimming with unasked questions. She studied him, as if weighing the life choices reflected beneath his well-crafted exterior, searching for traces of the boy she once knew. He stumbled, words tangling in his throat, choked by the specters of uncertainty. Every syllable felt heavy. Did he come here to right his wrongs, or merely to find solace in nostalgia? Fear knotted tight within him, a reminder of vulnerabilities he had long buried. Why now? She pressed, and Jake felt a sharp pang in his chest. This wasn't just a reunion, it was a reckoning. She was right to question him. Smiling in the past might have been easy, but standing before her now revealed a complexity of emotions he hadn't anticipated. I want to understand, he began, forcing clarity into his words. Everything I built feels meaningless without knowing where you went. I thought I could find peace in my success, but now it just feels empty. Her expression shifted, the warmth in her eyes replaced by an intrigue that demanded more from him. This was not just an apology he needed to make. It was a genuine recognition of their shared history, the quiet moments where dreams were built not just on aspirations but on mutual hopes. I don't know if I can trust you again, she said slowly, the weight of her experiences evident in her voice, her life full of interruptions and disappointments. Things have changed, Jake. He nodded, understanding the fragility of that admission. Lily was not the same girl who believed in fairy tales. She had crafted a new life, one forged in resilience and raw reality. In that moment, Jake realized he didn't just owe Lily answers. He owed her the truth of who he had become, not so much as an apology, but as an invitation, a possibility of forging anew. Let me show you, he said, a spark igniting within him. Perhaps this was not merely a reunion. It was a chance to uncover layers of both their existences. Yet beneath that excitement loomed the threat of rejection. The fear of her turning away was paralyzing, yet he felt the need to take that step, however tenuous it may be. But he must confront himself first. He had concealed his intentions and did not fully understand what had propelled him toward her. Could he honestly answer the question of why he had returned? With each heartbeat gaining momentum, he resisted the urge to turn back. One thing was clear. Unraveling the fabric of his past would demand more than simple courage. He would need to confront both the man he had become and the boy who had faltered. As he opened his mouth to express these conflicted emotions, the phrase slipped away like sand through fingers. He felt the weight of not just his own fears, but the burden of Lily's expectations. Would they bridge this divide or lose themselves before they could really begin? And in that charged atmosphere, Jake realized if he truly expected to find redemption, he would have to unveil all that was hidden. The time had come for Jake to face more than just his past. He needed to confront the man he had allowed himself to become. Little did he know, the unmasking of one's vulnerabilities can sometimes reveal the potential for genuine growth. What lay on the other side of this confrontation remained a shadow. The moment surged with electric tension, unveiling the question looming large: would he dare to step into that light? Jake stood there, the murmurs around him fading into a dull hum as he focused on Lily. The tension hung palpable in the air, a tightrope strung between hope and fear. His mind raced, terrible and wondrous possibilities demanding attention, yet all he could summon was a cloud of uncertainty. Did he truly want to expose the scars beneath his polished surface? Why now? She had asked, and the question reverberated, an echo of his self-doubt. He visibly flinched, cringing under the weight of his own choices. It wasn't merely a matter of choosing a moment to reconnect. It was about unveiling a lifetime's worth of decisions made in isolation. He had buried himself in success, a fortress of earnings and accolades, yet beneath it all lay a void that had grown deeper with each passing year. Success had come at the price of truth, and now, standing before her, he felt the press of raw reality. Let me show you, he had suggested, But how could he show her anything without first showing himself the truth? Retreating into the polished veneer he had adopted would no longer suffice. This confrontation wouldn't merely scratch the surface. It would require a complete excavation of his soul. Why do I feel like everything in my life is a mirage? He thought bitterly. The image of his lavish office, the accolades lining his walls, all felt insipid now. A life built on achievements overshadowed by what lay buried beneath felt like a curse. Those walls adorned with accomplishments, mocking his emptiness. I need to understand what I lost, he declared internally, a quietly assertive thought beginning to form. This wasn't just about reconnecting with Lily. It was about reclaiming the aspects of himself he had allowed to wither for the sake of ambition. Things have changed, she had warned, her words a cautious whisper, but deep in them lay an invitation. Change could signify growth, and perhaps within that lay a path forward if he were brave enough to walk it. All right then, he resolved. He would not bury himself deeper under the guise of self-assuredness. Instead, he would peel back the facades, allowing the fear to accompany him not as a companion that restrained him, but as a catalyst pushing him forward. With that thought ignited within him, Jake committed to bridging the emotional chasm. He stepped closer, approaching the deeper, genuine representation of himself, the man who hesitated but was not afraid to reveal vulnerability. So how do I begin? He questioned himself, a blend of dread and determination swirling inside him. By inviting her to see me for who I am, he eventually understood. This required admitting failures and confronting his shortcomings, but it also entailed embracing the potential for honest collaboration moving forward. If Lily could serve as the mirror to reflect his truths, maybe the exploration of their shared narratives could lead to discovery, to understanding what had gone awry all those years ago. His voice steadied as he sought the words to express everything he had felt during the years apart, every moment steeped in hesitation. Lily, I'm here because the life I've built can no longer shield me from what I've lost. I didn't want to confront the anguish of leaving it behind, and that was my mistake. He expected her to recoil, expected her defenses to rise like walls, but when he looked into her eyes, he found a flicker. Curiosity clashed with caution, painting a complexity that invited further exploration. The vulnerability in admitting his failure struck a chord with her. Perhaps they resonated because she too had traversed challenges that demanded strength from her reserves. Do you really want to uncover all this? She replied, her voice cautious yet intrigued. He nodded, a decision solidifying within him. Yes, I do. And not just with you, I want to do this for myself. To become the person I should have been all along. In that moment, Jake recognized an emerging principle in his life, a realization dawning further. His past wasn't merely a series of lost years. It held lessons waiting to be unearthed, and in that unearthed knowledge, he might finally discover the man he had buried. Yet, the crux remained: would unveiling those layers forge their connection anew, or dig a deeper divide? As he saw her softly nod, he could feel the possibilities mounting, a door opening, perhaps not just to rekindled friendship, but to resourceful collaboration in facing those painful memories. But with each answer lay haunting questions. What would it take to forge trust again? Would their pasts empower them to build something new? Or were they destined to be remnants of a forgotten history? The tension in the air crackled with unresolved potential as Jake prepared for what lay ahead. A conversation filled with secrets and exposure awaited him. Would he find the patience to unearth the buried truths, confront his fears, and embrace the unknown? Or would he remain ensnared by the past, allowing it to dictate their futures yet again? Jake shifted slightly, the energy between him and Lily pulsating with anticipation. He could feel the walls he had constructed around himself starting to tremble, the foundations of his carefully curated life quaking at the prospect of honest engagement. The unanswered questions loomed like specters, each one demanding resolution not just for Lily, but for himself. I know this is unexpected, he began, the words spilling out with a mix of urgency and vulnerability. I didn't come here to relive the past, but to bring some clarity to it. I owe you that much. Lily regarded him steadily, her eyes revealing a cocktail of emotions that felt both familiar and foreign. It was daunting to think that someone could reflect both the past and potential futures simultaneously. For so long, he had shielded her from his struggles, cloaking the rawness of his reality in the guise of accomplishment. If I'm going to do this, I need to begin with the truth about why I pushed you away, he stated, trembling slightly as he faced the abyss of his past decisions. He had rehearsed these lines in his mind countless times, but they felt wholly different spoken aloud. There was a palpable weight to each revelation that could either liberate or condemn him as he exposed himself. In the pursuit of success, I lost sight of what truly mattered, he confessed, his heart racing as the words formed a bridge between them. I thought I was building a life worth showing off, but I only constructed a museum of my achievements. I let fear dictate too many choices. Lily's brow furrowed, as if contemplating the implications of his admission. Still, her silence encouraged him to delve deeper, the interplay of their histories pushing him to unearth treasures he had kept buried for far too long. I was so terrified of being vulnerable, he continued, that I neglected the very connection I sought to preserve. I thought ambition could fill the void created by my own insecurities, but it didn't. It only left me feeling more isolated, the very opposite of what I craved. Jake studied her response carefully. Each flicker of her expression, every subtle change in her demeanor, seemed tied to the rhythm of his revelations. There was discomfort, yes, but also the faintest hint of understanding, as if she too grappled with remnants of their shared past. To move forward, I need to reconcile that part of my life with who I am now, he laid bare. I'm not asking for your forgiveness, not yet. I only want you to see me as I am, stripped of the gloss that I've covered myself with. What if what you find is not what you hoped? She countered, her voice tinged with caution yet filled with an unexpected tenderness. He recognized the unspoken fear in her words. What if exposing the barren truths could sever their already fragile connection? I have to take that risk, he replied, his internal resolve hardening. For years, I let my fear of what might happen hold me back. But I think I've begun to understand that the only way to truly connect with anyone, especially you, is to face that potential devastation head-on. The silence hummed with emotional tectonics, but in Lily's eyes, he discerned an echo of his own yearning for reconciliation. He could sense her weighing the possibilities, and after a moment, she shifted closer, her presence anchoring him like a lighthouse amidst tumultuous seas. What if you find that part of yourself unrecognizable? She whispered, breaking the stillness. Then I'll find a way to rebuild, he vowed, clarity seeping into his heart. If I have to break down to build back better, so be it. That essay journey I want to share with you as my witness. A moment passed, charged with intention and the throbbing need to advance. Could they transform from antagonistic memories into collaborative partners on a shared quest of self-discovery? He felt the spark of ambition once more. Not for high-stakes deals or bigger bank accounts, but for a profound emotional honesty that could change them both. It was a fragile flicker of hope, one that bore the promise of potential or peril. Embracing the unknown no longer felt daunting but invigorating. Together they could traverse the labyrinth of their pasts, finding ways to reshape a future that had once felt stymied by imperfect choices. Are you willing to join me on this journey? Jake finally asked, feeling raw and exposed but undeniably alive. He awaited her response, understanding this was not simply about creating a narrative. It was about revitalizing their lives, and the stakes were higher than he had ever anticipated. Gathering her thoughts, she looked at him with renewed focus, the gravity of her next words palpable. If we're going to do this, we need to confront everything unfiltered and without pretense. Jake felt the air shift around them. The invitation into the depths of their intertwined stories had been extended. But would the challenge they faced prove more than either of them could bear? The weight of the unknown loomed, a reminder that every choice they made could lead to liberation or further alienation. Would he embrace the chance to redefine his existence, or would he falter once more? The next step awaited, shrouded in uncertainty, yet illuminated by the shared bravery to uncover a new path. As Jake sat across from Lily, the charged silence enveloped them, pulses racing in tandem with the shifting tides of their shared history. The question looming over, heavy with implications, demanded action. Decision awaited him, an exhilarating yet terrifying prospect. He had already dismantled some of his gilded armor, exposing the vulnerable layers beneath, but would he have the strength to continue this emotional excavation? Okay, he finally said, his voice steadying into resolve. Let us start by laying everything out on the table. No pretenses, just the unvarnished truth. Lily nodded, the challenges ahead mirrored in her eyes. That includes everything: the good, the bad, and the ugly. Her tone conveyed a clarity that breathed new life into his aspirations for change. Jake marveled at the transformation occurring within him, a collision of dread and excitement. He understood the potential for discovery, and with it, the power to redefine himself. In her presence he felt unmoored yet oddly secure, as if their histories had become a bridge toward an uncertain but exhilarating future. He took a breath, conscious of the shift in purpose around them. "I want to tell you about the moment everything changed for me. It was when I realized that my pursuit of success was rooted in fear. So much fear." The admission reverberated through him. It wasn't about ambition anymore. It was about proving something, not just to the world but to myself. Lily leaned forward, her expression imbued with attention and empathy. "What were you afraid of?" The question cracked open another layer of his tightly woven narrative. "Failure, mostly. I thought if I became successful I would be accepted, respected. But the lonelier I felt, the more I chased achievements. It was a vicious cycle, like running on a treadmill, getting nowhere fast." His voice gained intensity as memories swirled like a tempest. "I believed that I wasn't enough on my own, and I never took the time to love the person I was becoming. Instead, I buried myself under accolades that, in the end, meant nothing." He caught a flicker of recognition on her face, the silent acknowledgement that this was a profoundly shared human struggle, a universal dilemma cloaked in individual circumstances. "But you were moving forward in your career," she ventured, her brow slightly furrowed. "That's something to be proud of." "Was I?" he countered, since pride felt like a hollow shell now. "What I built will crumble if I can't understand my true self. I buried my identity beneath layers of achievement to the extent that I had no clue who I was anymore." The realization struck like a thunderclap, each point of success highlighted just how far he had drifted from his core. Lily's gaze softened, and he saw her responding to the rawness in his revelation, reflecting her own wrestles with the value of self-worth. "This journey of discovery you're embarking on, it's not just about repairing the fragments of a relationship, but finding yourself too." Her words resonated with a deep, lasting chord, illuminating Jake's doubts. The thought of unearthing something new was thrilling. Could vulnerability act as a catalyst for both self-improvement and deeper connection? "Let us promise to support each other," he proposed decisively, feeling the shift from isolation to partnership. "In facing our pasts, we must also confront what we expect from our futures. What we want, not what we feel obligated to achieve." Lily gave a small smile, one that hinted at shared warmth and mutual understanding. "Are we really prepared for this?" "Think so," he replied, nodding. "But I need you to understand this won't be easy. I may stumble, but I want to try. If we're going to explore what went wrong, we'll also have to discuss what we both want moving forward." The weight of his pledge hung between them, both liberating and petrifying. Each choice they would make from this point would serve as both a testament to their growth and a reflection of their willingness to embrace vulnerability as they rediscovered themselves. As they exchanged glances, the tension shifted again. Beneath the excitement lay an undercurrent of fear. What if they dug deeper and unearthed wounds long since buried? The unresolved uncertainty created a palpable tension, the kind both terrifying and exhilarating. "Give me a second," Jake said, breaking the moment. He needed clarity before they continued down this unpredictable path. "I have to gather my thoughts so that I can properly express what I really want." He stood up, breathing deeply, each inhale a call to courage as he attempted to rein in the whirlwind of emotions. The challenge loomed larger than ever before him, the potential to reconstruct his identity or face revelations that could threaten to undo him. "Take your time," Lily replied softly, her voice an anchor in a storm of self-doubt. He needed to articulate his vision, confront not only the person he used to be but also the man he aspired to become. The unease danced around him like shadows at dusk, every heartbeat echoing the urgency of his next steps. What awaited him at the end of this journey? With each step forward, both Jake and Lily stood on the precipice of transformation. Uncertainty wrapped them like a cloak, yet both knew that this exploration would usher in a change that neither had anticipated. Would they emerge stronger, or with even more scars? Inevitably, the juxtaposition of promise and risk echoed in his mind. Decisions loomed large. The moment of truth was fast approaching. Would he seize the chance to redefine himself, or would he shy away from the confrontation that lay ahead? The next step could determine the course of their lives forever. Jake stood silently, his mind racing as he tried to untangle the many threads of his past and present. The swirling emotions threatened to pull him under. Yet the gravity of his commitment to be honest with Lily kept him grounded. He moved out onto the balcony, the cool night air brushing against his skin, but that momentary relief didn't quell the storm within. With each breath, he visualized the courage he needed, an electrical surge of determination coursing through him. He glanced back at Lily, who remained seated at the table, the tension between them crackling with unexpressed thoughts. How could he articulate what he genuinely wanted? Was he seeking reconciliation, respect, or something entirely different? And did he even understand what he desired beneath the layers of fear and confusion? As he paced, thoughts spiraled. The pressures of his career, the significance of past failures, and the questions he had avoided for so long. When had he decided that his worth hinged solely on external validation? His hand instinctively reached for his phone, but he hesitated, the device feeling like a lifeline to a world he was ready to disconnect from. Instead, he turned his focus inward, willing to confront the mess of emotions roiling within. A knot tightened in his chest as glimpses of memories visited, moments of triumph overshadowed by a gnawing emptiness. They made him question everything, throwing his priorities into sharp relief. What if success could exist alongside authentic joy? What if the journey back to himself began now, in this moment? Suddenly, an idea struck him like a bolt of lightning. What if he made a list? A simple piece of paper filled with everything he hoped to confront and discover, not only about his past, but also about what lay ahead. Resolute, he made his way back to the table. Lily, he began, his voice gaining strength as he gathered his thoughts. I want to share something. I've never done anything like this before, but I think it could help clarify what we are trying to uncover. Lily's eyebrows arched in intrigue, and he could see the faint trace of encouragement on her face. With an urgency, he filled a napkin with words, the lines singing with the tension he felt. Here's what I want to explore. What holds us back from being our true selves? What do we truly want to achieve together and individually? And most importantly, how do we heal from the past? As he continued writing, he felt liberated, each scribble acting as a conduit for the burden of silence he had carried. This wasn't merely a list, it was a foundation for rebuilding connection, not just with Lily, but also with himself. When he finished, he laid the napkin down in front of her. Those are my intentions, he said, feeling a surge of vulnerability but also empowerment. I want to not only face my demons but also understand what made me run away from you, and from the man I could be when I was with you. Lily studied the napkin as if it were a treasure map. The flicker of understanding ignited in her eyes. Jake, it's bold, she murmured, her voice filled with a new warmth. But I need to know if you mean to pursue each of these questions with sincerity. I do. I'm tired of avoiding the truths that gnaw at me. I want to use this journey to understand how we fell apart, he replied, his resolve solidifying. What would it take for us to step back together from the darkness into a light where we support one another? She leaned back slightly, her expression shifting as if she were reevaluating their situation. The energy between them snapped and pulsed, every unspoken word hovering expectantly in the air. His heart raced as he waited for her response. Would she echo his commitment or shy away from the intensity of his proposal? Love can be a delicate thread, she finally said, her voice soft but anchored. But if we're going to navigate these challenges, it's essential to address the pain first. Are you ready to do that? The truth of her question lingered heavily. Could he truly face the pain they both shared? But he also felt a burgeoning awareness of the rewards one might reap from vulnerability. Steeling himself, he nodded. Yes, it'll be hard, but I'm ready. For the first time in what felt like eternity, Jake glimpsed the faint outline of a path illuminated ahead, a journey that promised growth and connection, but also brought with it the daunting specter of introspection and the risk of unraveling. The night deepened around them, offering a profound stillness, but a pulse of anxiety remained palpable in the air. Together, they stood on the cusp of a raw exploration that would test every facet of their beings and redefine their future. As the moment stretched, Jake understood that stepping into the light would require razor-sharp honesty and courage, but it was a risk he was willing to take, one that might finally push him toward understanding the man he yearned to become. Let us start, she said softly, reaching for his hand. Their fingers interlocking felt like a tether, a lifeline between their fractured past and the potential that lay ahead. How far could they go if they faced the music together? With the first step forward undertaken, the looming questions lingered: what revelations awaited them, and would they be able to withstand the storms that followed? The answer echoed with an unsettling boldness: only time would tell. The gentle tug of Lily's hand grounded Jake, the warmth a stark contrast to the tumult tangled in his mind. It was a moment suspended in time, charged with both possibility and uncertainty, reflecting the very essence of their collective journey, a detour from the past toward the unpredictable future. "Let us begin," he repeated, the words feeling foreign yet vital, as if voicing them aloud birthed a newfound sense of agency. With an anchoring breath, he thought about all the pieces he was willing to confront. "Why don't we start with the hardest part?" Lily suggested, her gaze unwavering. "What do you think holds you back the most?" The question spiraled inside him, triggering a flood of introspection. Many layers swirled in response. The self-doubt rooted in years of comparison, the fear of failure that loomed over him whenever he attempted to make significant strides in both love and career. The words stumbled out before he could censor them. "I think it's fear of not living up to the expectations I've set for myself, or worse, the ones others have set for me. I built this version of success that feels heavy, almost suffocating." Her compassionate nod felt like a safety net, encouraging him to unravel further, and he pressed on. "I've always sought validation from my peers. I thought titles and accomplishments would fill that void. Yet, every step I took felt like I was running further away from who I really am." Jake studied her, hoping to catch a glimpse of where Lily stood in this maze of vulnerability. Instead of judgment, he found compassion, a mirror reflecting his tumultuous reality back to him. "I've never trusted my instincts. I lived for everyone else. I pushed away the very things that made me alive." Lily remained silent for a brief moment, the air thick with mutual understanding. "It's terrifying to be stripped bare," she said softly, her own walls pulsing with the unspoken. "But what would happen if you trusted yourself? If you weren't afraid of disappointment?" He felt a seemingly inexplicable shift, a desire for self-acceptance igniting within him. "I think it would mean reconfiguring my values, no longer chasing ambition for the sake of impressing others, but rather embracing what brings me genuine happiness. It's just daunting to face what that actually looks like." "Maybe it's about more than just you," she prompted, her eyes flickering with that glimmer of support he now cherished. "What do you envision for us?" His heart raced. It felt audacious to even breathe the words that lingered quietly on his tongue. "I want a partnership built on authenticity and trust, a space where both our voices matter. But I can't do that if I'm still navigating my internal chaos or projecting my insecurities onto you." Her response was a meditative silence that allowed him to process the quest at hand. Taking a leap of faith, he took a step closer, narrowing the emotional distance between them. "I know I have to change. Am I willing to allow myself to be vulnerable with you, to allow us to grow together? The thought of facing the shadows terrifies me, but I want to. I don't want to keep running away." Lily's expression shifted, contemplative yet grounded, and he sensed a storm of emotions swirling beneath her surface. It was then apparent that Jake had unveiled his own shackles, but had inadvertently invited her to do the same, a dance of revelations intricate yet essential. Time ticked away, but neither wanted to break this fragile tether. The air swelled with anticipation as they both teetered on the edge of confronting their histories, poised to dive into the unknown. "What if we made another list?" she finally offered, her eyes sparkling with ideas. "Not just the pain, but also the dreams, the life we envision together." Jake's heart soared with the prospect of what such an exploration would entail. He felt a fire fuel his intent, personal development sparked by the possibility of shared vision. "Let us write down all the things we hope to create, and what we want to leave behind," he suggested, excitement coursing through him. And as they nodded in agreement, Jake realized the true depth of the journey ahead wouldn't merely be about facing their past, but about igniting the possibilities that couldn't be seen until they faced these shadows together. Yet still, the question loomed like an ever-expanding horizon. Could they weave a tapestry of dreams without succumbing to the past? Unanswered, the query hung in the air, the next chapter waiting for them to turn the page. What would they find in the space between their shared dreams and dormant fears? Jake's mind buzzed with possibilities as he sat across from Lily, the blank paper between them an expansive canvas waiting for their dreams to take form. The weight of vulnerability loomed large, yet he felt an electrifying anticipation, a deeper understanding of the stakes they were beginning to gamble in their lives together. A list infused with hope, he said, almost to himself as he tapped the pencil against the paper. What do we envision for the future? Lily leaned forward, her eyes wide with enthusiasm. The dream, she mused, isn't about merely avoiding pain. It's about envisioning joy. What does our ideal life look like? Jake's thoughts flickered to the desires he had pushed aside for too long. A fulfilling career, creating art that mattered, and cultivating a relationship where love flourished, uninhibited by past wounds. As he scribbled art and freedom at the top of the page, he felt a surge of fervor wash over him. Travel, he jotted down, reveling in the notion of exploring the world, experiencing different cultures, and collecting stories that would shape who they would become together. Yes, she replied, her excitement palpable, and let us add living authentically, no pretenses, just us. He looked up, surprised by how easily her words intertwined with his thoughts. They were building a bridge from the shards of their painful histories toward colorful aspirations. Together they begun to outline a future that felt more tangible in that moment than ever before. The conversations flowed, unearthing their dreams, filling the silence with laughter, and bolstering the resolve neither of them had anticipated. These dialogues became their weapons against the shadows of doubt. But then a memory invaded his thoughts, a haunting echo from his upbringing filled with expectations that threatened to drown him every time he sought something beyond societal approval. What if we create something beautiful, he voiced, and I'm just not good enough? What if it all falls apart? Lily's gaze shifted, her support unwavering. That's the very fear we must face, Jake. Who sets the bar? What if our pathway to fulfillment is filled with missteps? He winced but nodded, pushing against ingrained doubts. That moment became a pivot in their growing partnership. Jake recognized that the true measure of success lay within the process, not the culmination. As they continued, he marveled at their synergy and the palpable changes this connection ignited in his heart. Suddenly his past identity felt less like a prison, and more like a guidebook highlighting lessons that had the power to inform his future choices. Instead of running, he realized he could stand firm, even if it meant experiencing discomfort. Yet deep inside, whispers of anxiety lingered, the dread of showing weakness, of failing in front of the person he wished to impress the most. The thought of dismantling his carefully constructed persona began to weigh heavily. The gentle click of the clock shattered his reverie. Time was running out, and the list lay unfinished. What's next? He asked, his tone both hopeful and hesitant. Lily smiled, a soft glow radiating from her reassurance. Next we tackle letting go. We need to face our fears together one by one. Her words hovered between them, thick with challenge and potential. Jake swallowed hard, knowing that whatever they unearthed could lead to even greater revelations. The act of letting go felt like a daunting precipice, a call to face everything he had pushed to the edges of his mind. Could he truly confront his fears? Would a bond strengthened in honesty withstand the storm of vulnerability? As the paper filled with dreams, the shadows lingered at the fringes, threatening to derail the momentum they had built. The methodical steps forward were often punctured by memories he would much rather forget. But as Jake took a deep breath, he recognized that some fears might just be the catalyst for a fresh beginning. The answer lingered just beyond the horizon, waiting to be discovered. What would happen when they turned towards that darkness? Was it a path to liberation or merely a reminder of their limitations? As he caught Lily's eye, determination welled up inside him, eager to unveil the unknown. The atmosphere in the room shifted as Jake stared at the unfinished list. Each word they had shared felt like a lifeline, a fragile connection woven from raw hopes and fears. Allowing vulnerability to sweep over him became more pressing than it had ever been. Letting go, he repeated, trying to wrap his thoughts around the concept, while suppressing the tightness in his throat. Memories swirled like an invasive fog. What if confronting them only widened the chasm of pain he had worked so hard to bury? I know it's hard, Lily said, her voice steady. We have to look at the things that hold us back. Facing those fears can unlock so much. Jake nodded, feeling the weight of her gaze pierce through his defenses. Like what? What do we start with? What about your art? She suggested gently. What fears crop up when you think about putting it out there? His chest tightened instantly. The memories of art shows that had gone awry and criticism that felt too personal surged forward, moments that had chipped away at his confidence. I've convinced myself that those pieces are just they're not good enough. They were never worthy. But what if your art matters? She challenged, her eyes alight with ambition and hope. You won't know until you share it. What if it connects with someone else's heart? The courage in her voice ignited a spark within him, but doubt loomed just out of reach, whispering his inadequacies. Sudden hindsight flooded in. All those hours spent painting in solitude, browsing through forums filled with accolades and critiques, the artistic world was fraught with both admiration and rejection. Would anyone truly care? I haven't shown anyone, he confessed. Not really. Only the safe pieces. The ones painted over old canvases. Then let us change that. She leaned closer, her presence anchoring him. What if you let someone else see what you create? One piece even. Take that risk. It doesn't have to be perfect. That's not the point. Just one piece? The challenge sent his mind racing. What if it's terrible? What if it's met with indifference? I mean, who am I to put myself out there? Someone who deserves to be seen. You would be surprised who might resonate with your journey, Jake. Her faith overwhelmed him, but the fear of judgment clawed at his gut. What if, through exposing himself to critique, he would be lined up against his own self-worth? An icy sensation crept down his spine. This was deeper than just a fear of failure. It was about confronting the very essence of his existence. Straightening up ever so slightly, he shifted his gaze to the list, now brimming with possibilities. Beneath art and freedom lay a new concept: vulnerability. Perhaps facing it meant daring to showcase his truth, however messy it might be. So, a piece, he murmured, testing the weight of the idea. It might not be beautiful, but it'll be mine. Exactly, she affirmed, her enthusiasm brightening the space between them. And once you start, you can build from that. Let us conquer it together. Inspired and terrified, Jake felt a flicker of excitement amidst his unease. The interplay between fear and anticipation created a throbbing rhythm in his chest. Would this simple act serve as a catalyst for something greater, allowing him to break free from the illusions of inadequacy he had long succumbed to? As he visualized bringing forth his art, the blurred edges of his past began to sharpen. He grasped the pencil tightly, feeling it transform into a tool of empowerment. Each stroke could mark the beginning of a new relationship, not just with Lily, but with himself. Okay, I'll do it, he declared, defiance tinged with exhilaration. I'll show one piece and we'll see what happens. Her smile enveloped him like a warm embrace. That's the spirit. Facing fears can help us grow. You're going to surprise yourself. For the first time in a long while, hope swelled within him. It felt fragile yet steadfast. Yet as he anchored himself to this newfound resolve, doubt still lurked like shadows on the periphery. Would a glimpse of his vulnerability truly pave the way for connection or disaster? As he jot down "face the art" at the bottom of the list, uncertainty flickered within his excitement. What lay ahead, acceptance or ridicule? The tension simmered, relentless yet enticing, buzzing in the air like static electricity. The moment of truth loomed, transformative yet terrorizing. As he glanced back at Lily, enthusiasm and anxiety swirled within him. What if this step opened doors he wasn't yet prepared to walk through? He took a breath and prepared to dive into the depths of his own creativity. Jake stood in his studio, sunlight streaming through the high windows, illuminating the canvases that lined the walls, each piece a fragment of his journey, yet still cloaked in self-doubt. His heart raced as he grasped the paintbrush, feeling the familiar tension grip him. Today was the day he would choose not to hide behind his carefully constructed armor. Today he would face his fears head-on. The past few months had transformed him profoundly. Reconnecting with Lily had ignited a fire within, a realization that his identity was more than just the accolades he had amassed. It was about vulnerability, authenticity, and the courage to embrace the artist he once was. He took a deep breath, recalling the first conversation they had about sharing his art. Just one piece he had promised. It felt monumental then, but now it seemed almost pedestrian in light of everything he had unearthed together with Lily. He had shed layers of pretense, confronting the insecurities that had long dictated his choices. If he wasn't willing to take this risk, then what had all the introspection been worth? With resolve he began to paint. The strokes flowed freely, guided by a mix of emotion and revelation. Each splash of color reminded him of the weights he'd lifted, the burden of fear, the anxiety of judgment, and the darkness of all that he had silenced. The canvas transformed into a depiction of his journey, raw, unfiltered, and vibrantly alive. 2 hours turned into 4, and as he stepped back to survey his creation, disbelief washed over him. The masterpiece before him was not just a canvas. It was a testament to his growth and a declaration of his identity. He pressed his phone, the echo of his heartbeat pulsing through the device as he texted Lily, "I'm ready." The response came quickly, a mixture of enthusiasm and support. "I can't wait to see it. Where are we sharing it?" The galleries he had envisioned were now replaced by a sense of connection, not with critics or strangers, but with Lily. It was her validation that he sought, and that filled him with a powerful sense of belonging. Jake quickly decided they would unveil it together at a small cafe downtown, a cozy place where they used to haunt during their teenage years. It was their shared history, a thread that couldn't be severed, a circle that needed to be completed. The afternoon sun dipped low as they gathered at the cafe, a group of supportive friends surrounding them. Jake felt the familiar pang of nerves, but he also felt centered. He was not just sharing art. He was sharing his heart. "Are you ready for this?" Lily whispered, her voice a comforting balm. "Yes," he replied, steadier than he felt. "It's time to show who I've become, who we've become." As he unveiled the piece, the gasp that escaped Lily's lips filled the space with warmth. The cafe buzzed with chatter momentarily halted, eyes gravitating toward the canvas. "It's beautiful," she breathed, her admiration palpable in the air, grounding him with more than just words. The art showcased vibrant color swirls representing the amalgamation of fears, pains, and dreams, a harmonious portrayal of his journey intertwined with hers. "Can we all gather around and share how it resonates?" One friend proposed, and with that, a ripple of vulnerability flowed through the room. Each person offered insights, revealing how the piece connected to their own stories of resilience and growth. Their shared experiences became the background music, allowing Jake's moment to flourish, each whisper of approval enhancing his sense of accomplishment and relief. This is just the start, he realized as he felt belonging wash over him like a tidal wave. The act of creating had unshackled not only his artistic self but every part of him he had buried for far too long. He was no longer the man defined by his success. He was becoming a whole person, full of aspirations and depth. Lily turned to him, her eyes sparkling with pride. "You've achieved something magnificent here, Jake. This is just the beginning." Jake understood. His journey had shifted from a solitary endeavor into a partnership grounded in honesty and shared dreams. The fears that had once held him prisoner now served less as chains and more as bridges to deeper connection. As the applause swept through the room, he felt anchored in a newfound reality. He had faced vulnerability and conquered it. In that small cafe, among friends and with Lily by his side, he had proven to himself that true success lay not in accolades but in authenticity and connection. Jake stepped closer to Lily, their hands entwined amid the faint echoes of cheers and gratitude. "I feel free," he admitted softly. "This is who you are," she affirmed, the sincerity in her voice filling him with an undeniable warmth. With his heart open, he embraced the now and all its possibilities, the future a canvas yet to be painted upon. This was the moment he had long awaited. An invitation to not just create, but to live unabashedly in truth. Now the excitement of what lay ahead flickered enticingly in his chest, lighting the path to a partnership forged in authenticity. Together they would breathe life into dreams yet unfulfilled, and the canvas of their existence would expand into a blossoming masterpiece of shared ambition and love. You need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that showcase the power of individual transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and let others find this incredible journey toward fulfillment. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending, and what they think about Jake's transformation. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion, because true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of spreading the message. Don't wait even one more second to share.